Welcome back to Northern Tales, where silence is broken and every woman's story finds its way back to her own voice. Last time, Zuwaira thought she had lost everything, until fate brought her face to face with the one truth she could not escape. Let's continue the final chapter of this story. By morning, Zuwaira's eyes burned from lack of sleep and exhaustion. She could not stop thinking of that little girl. Shortly after sunrise, a nurse came in with a wheelchair and took the woman away. The room felt empty the moment she left. Nearly an hour later, she was brought back. She looked slightly drowsy, but otherwise calm. Then came more whispered conversations between the woman and the nurse at the bedside. This time, Zuwaira caught fragments. Yes, we will try and keep you for at least 1 week. A pause. No. 2 weeks might be too far. Another pause. Maybe you can stay with your sister before you get the test. The woman replied too softly to hear. Zuwaira lay on her side, pretending to scroll through her phone, thumb moving over a blank screen. But every part of her was listening. Now she knew one thing for certain. Whatever had brought this woman to the hospital, it was not simple. That afternoon, one of the two women who had visited earlier returned alone. She came carrying a food flask and a handbag, greeting the patient softly before sitting beside her bed. Since the doctor's round, Zuwaira had continued her performance. Whenever footsteps approached, she pressed a hand on her abdomen, frowned, or shifted slowly, as though every movement hurt. Now, as the two women began to talk, she decided to become invisible. She turned slightly to the wall and pretended to fall asleep. It was an old skill. As a child, when chores were being assigned at home, she had mastered the art of false sleep. Slow breathing, loose limbs, slack face. Sometimes she even opened her mouth slightly and let saliva gather at the corner, convincing enough that no one bothered waking her. So she did the same now. The women's voices remained low at first, careful whispers, half sentences. Then after a while, they seemed to accept that she was truly asleep. Their voices rose just enough, not loud, but careless. Zuwaira kept still and listened. She did not catch every word, only fragments carried clearly through the room. The patient spoke first. How is my husband? Does he suspect anything? The other woman answered after a pause. Not quite, but I don't know how we can keep you in hospital for 2 weeks. You know, for Hasia, he was not around, so it was easy to get the procedure done. Zuwaira's fingers tightened under the sheet. The patient sighed. The nurse said they can only keep me for 1 week. We have to find a way. Either I come to your house or you come stay with us to help. Then the visitor asked quietly, how many babies did they put this time? The answer came without hesitation. 3. The room seemed to go silent. After that, though the woman continued speaking, then another sentence drifted across. This will be the last, the patient said. I can't afford it again. Zuwaira lay motionless, but inside her, everything had changed. So that was it. Embryo transfer, an arranged admission, a secret pregnancy attempt hidden from the husband. The child in the restaurant, Hasia, she has had her name now. Another attempt now. Her mind raced back to something Khadija had once told her casually, almost like gossip. During one of Khadija's clinic visits, there has been scandal in another hospital. A child needed blood transfusion. Routine checks were done. Then questions began. The father's blood group did not match in a way it should have. Further testing followed, and that was how he discovered his wife had used donor sperm during IVF without telling him. At the time, Zuwaira had dismissed it as one of as one more dramatic story from the hidden world of fertility clinics. Now lying in a hospital bed pretending to sleep while two women planned deception in whispers, the story no longer felt distant. After the visitor left that evening, Zuwaira remained still for a long time. She knew now that something hidden was unfolding in the opposite bed. But even with all that, her mind kept returning to only one thing: the child, the little girl with the familiar face. As sunset deepened, footsteps returned to the corridor. The family was back. The husband entered first, carrying another bag. Behind him came the nanny, and in her arms was the child. Immediately, the woman in the opposite bed transformed. Gone was the healthy appetite, the alert eyes, the comfortable posture of the afternoon. She sank into the pillows, placed a hand dramatically on her stomach, moaned softly from time to time, turned on the bed with exaggerated difficulty, as though every movement required courage. Zuwaira watched in silence. Even pain, she realized, could be performed. This time she did not remain invisible. She sat up slowly and greeted them. The husband responded politely. The nanny smiled. The child stared at her with the open curiosity of toddlers. Zuwaira forced steadiness into her voice. "What is your name?" The little girl answered proudly, "Hasia." The name struck her like thunder. Everything clicked at once. The whispered conversation. "You know, for Hasia, he was not around." She remembered. The face that mirrored her own family so precisely, it had haunted her for months. Hasia, not just a child tied somehow to the same hidden world Zuwaira herself had entered. The father, noticing her watching the girl firmly, opened the bag he had brought. He took out oranges and apples, then handed them to Hasia. "Go and give auntie." The little girl toddled toward Zuwaira with both hands full, fruit nearly spilling from her grasp. Zuwaira reached out slowly and received them. Their fingers touched for the briefest second, and something inside her broke open in complete silence. The hospital visit was brief. The family came, they checked on the woman and left quickly. But that night, everything changed. The room was quiet, too quiet. Zuwaira turned to her. "You've been trying for a child, haven't you?" The woman froze. "I don't think that's your concern," she replied coldly. Zuwaira sat up slowly. This time there was no hesitation. "You're here because of fertility issues. Is it not embryo transfer you had today?" The woman stared at her in shock. Then she said it, the words she hadn't planned, but could no longer hold back. "I think the child has here. She came from me, from my egg." The woman stood up instantly. "What nonsense is this?" "That child," Zoera's voice trembled but did not break. "She is mine." The room erupted. Zuwaira and the woman were now talking over each other. Nurses rushed in. They did not understand the cause of the quarrel. Then the head doctor was called. He didn't shout. He asked what happened. The woman repeated what Zuwaira said, her voice trembling. He looked at Zuwaira and said quietly, "You signed the papers." He paused. "You were paid. You have no claim." Zuwaira opened her mouth, but no words came. He leaned forward slightly. "Do not confuse biology with motherhood." Silence filled the room. Then the final blow. "If you pursue this, we'll take legal action." His voice was hushed. He understood this can ruin the reputation of his hospital. He asked the nurses to discharge Zuwaira. No drama, no goodbyes, just a quiet exit from a place that had changed her. She walked slowly towards the hospital gate, bag in hand, her mind heavy. Then she stopped. The nanny, standing just outside the gate, alone. Zuwaira's heart skipped. She walked closer, steady, controlled. "You're still here?" Zuwaira asked. The nanny smiled casually. Yes, I'm here in case Madame needs anything. Zuwaira nodded, as if it meant nothing, then spoke for a few minutes. Simple things, life things. Then, as if remembering suddenly, she said, Oh, I didn't take Madame's number. The nanny didn't hesitate. She gave it to her. Just like that, Zuwaira sat in the back of the taxi. The city moved around her as on her way back to school, but inside everything was still. She stared at the number of Hasia's mother. Then she typed a message slowly and carefully. Good afternoon. This is Zuwaira from the hospital. We need to talk. A pause. And finally she wrote, This is not over. Back in school, Zuwaira sat at her desk, books open, eyes unfocused. She tried to read, but her mind drifted. All the donations, all the choices. In her thoughts, children surrounded her, boys, girls, reaching, pulling, calling. She stood at the center, and strangely, she smiled. Then she had her phone ring. It was Hasia's mother. She picked up. Hello? But the voice wasn't Hasia's mother. It was one of the women from the hospital. The woman was cold and direct. If my sister paid for your eggs and the child was born, what do you want from us? Zuwaira froze. She hadn't thought that far. Silence. Hello? Hello? The woman pressed. I'm here, Zuwaira whispered. What do you want? The question came again. A pause. I just want to know. And if you know, then what? The question cut deeper. For the first time, she answered honestly. I want to know and maybe be a part of her life. There was silence. The woman exploded. She insulted Zuwaira in anger and extreme rage. Then the line went dead. Zuwaira tried calling back, but the woman did not pick the call. The next day, on her way back from class, her phone rang, same number. Zuwaira answered. Again, it was Hasia's mother's number. This time, the voice was calmer. She began to speak, told Zuwaira about her sister's struggle with fertility, years of waiting, a husband who refused IVF, insults from in-laws, silent suffering. At 40, hope was fading. Her husband was rich. If he died, she will get nothing if she doesn't have children. She decided to do IVF with donor sperm. During the infertility investigation, the husband was constantly told he had low sperm count. In the process of the IVF, her sister was told her egg quality was low because of her age, so she opted for donor egg. She was lucky the first time she got Hasia. Now at 45, she was trying again, hoping for a miracle. There was silence. Zuwaira's chest tightened. For the first time, she saw the woman behind the child. I'm sorry, she said softly. I didn't think about her story. A pause. I'll step back. I won't disturb her life. Then quietly, but please let me see Hasia just once, even if it's just to play with her. Another pause. I'll think about it, the woman replied. I'll call you. The line went dead. A week passed, no call. Zuwaira slowly let go. She realized she had chased a truth without knowing what she would do with it. So she stopped. She focused on her books, on her exams. Life returned to normal. 3 weeks later, the phone rang. It was Hasia's mother. She answered. Still, it was the other woman on the line. Calm and carefree. She asked questions. She asked her full name, her father's name, where her family was from. Zuwaira hesitated. Why? Why are you asking me all these questions? The woman answered, I just want to trace my niece's lineage. So Zuwaira told her. Then gently, please let this go. Don't complicate things. This time Zuwaira agreed. Okay. They said goodbye. And that was it. Zuwaira moved on. Exams came. She passed. Not her best, but at least she had no carryovers. It was enough. She returned home to Dambata, waiting for NYSC, teaching her younger ones, helping them revise. Her father beamed with pride. My daughter is now a graduate. 5 months later, one evening just before Maghrib, the house was alive with routine. Pot was simmering on the fire, children revising, quiet laughter. Zuwaira stood beside her mother, stirring tuwo, holding a calabash of cornmeal. Then there was a voice at the door. Assalamu alaikum. Zuwaira froze. The voice was too familiar. A younger sibling ran to open the door, and then they entered. It was Hasia's mother, her sister, and the child. Zuwaira's hand trembled. The calabash slipped. It shattered on the floor. She grabbed the wall because she started feeling dizzy. Her breathing became unsteady. Pleasantries were brief. Hasia's mother said she came to see Zuwaira's parents, and if possible, she wanted to talk to them privately, but with Zuwaira, because what she came to say concerns her. They entered Zuwaira's mother's room. The woman did not sit for long before speaking. Her voice was calm, but broken underneath. She told everything: her years of infertility, her husband's refusal of IVF, Zuwaira's egg donation, conception of Hasia, and everything. She let the whole secret out, both hers and Zuwaira's. She continued, my husband suspected. He was away when I conceived Hasia. He must have paid someone at the hospital to spy on me. The whole truth is out now. She paused, then continued, he has divorced me. My family has rejected me. Zuwaira's mother gasped softly. The woman's voice dropped further. I went to Islamic scholars. They said the child is not mine because the egg that was used is your daughter's egg. Zuwaira shook her head slowly, tears already forming. Then the final truth. I confirmed at the hospital the egg used was yours, she said, looking at Zuwaira. The room exploded. What? Her mother cried, stepping back. Zuwaira's father stared, first at the woman, then at his daughter. You did this? His voice broke. Zuwaira couldn't speak. She couldn't breathe. Only tears were silently streaming down her face. The woman continued, I am returning the child to her, not because I don't love her, but I have to protect this child. Everyone in my cycle knows the story. Tears started streaming down her face. She choked as she said, what kind of life will she have if I keep her? Then she said softly, as if talking to herself, I am doing the right thing. At least nobody knows her here. Zuwaira's father stood, shaking. He was breathing heavily. He suddenly held his chest. There was a sharp intake of breath, and then he collapsed. Her mother jumped. Malam, she screamed. Baba, Baba, Zuwaira screamed. The rest of the siblings rushed in there. There was chaos, voices shouting, children crying, but it was too late. He died. The woman stood defeated, empty. She placed the child down in the middle of the chaos and said quietly to the child, I am sorry. Then they turned and left. Zuwaira stood frozen in the middle of the room, between loss, truth, and a child who looked back at her. 7 days after her father's death, when most relatives had left, her mother called her. She sat with her eyes downcast and tears streaming down her face. You killed your father, she said to Zuwaira. We sacrificed everything for you, so you could have a better life. But this is the path you have chosen. Take the child and leave. I cannot look at you, her mother said. I cannot be part of this child's life. I will not be part of this sin. May Allah forgive you. But I will never forgive you. You killed my husband. She started crying loudly now and repeated, you killed him. You killed him. Zuwaira knew this was the end of her. There was no other way the story can change. She knew she could not stay in the village. Mourners were already asking questions about the child. She packed only what she could carry, held the child close, and left. She had no money, no plan, nowhere to go, no way to survive. She called Khadija. There was a long silence, then a whisper. Don't call me again, Khadija said. The scandal has reached home. My mother thinks I did the same. The line went dead. Zuwaira stood alone in the motor park. Different destinations were being called, with a child in her arms and nowhere left to turn. She thought about her life for a long time. Then she remembered Hisba in Kano. She will go and make up some story for the meantime before she gets her footing. She looked at Hasia on her laps. Despite everything, she has a love for this child that she cannot explain. And she vowed to do whatever it takes to take care of her. Just maybe she may be forgiven for the sin she had committed. This is the end of Zuwaira's story. It is a lesson for all of us. In this life, we chase things, thinking they will complete us. Money, children, or even a second chance. Zuwaira chased survival until it cost her everything. Hasia's mother chased motherhood. That also cost her everything. Two women, different desires, same emptiness. Because some things, when forced, don't come as blessings. They come with consequences. Life has a quiet truth. Not everything we want is meant for us. And sometimes, what we take to fill a gap creates a deeper one. In the end, it is not what we gain that defines us, but what our choices cost others. Thank you for listening to Northern Tales. Join us next week for another story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.